Hey, welcome back. It's Creek Spark Chaser. I got another great video for you today. Today we're going to talk about my electric trailer tongue jack and what went wrong with it. So for the past few months, I've been taking my dog outside at night, to do his business. And every time I walk past my trailer, I noticed that my front LED light on my jack was on very dimly. I didn't really think anything much of it at the time, but after months of doing this, I finally decided to take a look at it. So I pulled it all apart and I realized that water was getting inside of there and it corroded everything. It corroded the switch and the circuit board and my LED light. And it rains a lot around here, and I honestly thought that the jack cover was waterproof, but it's not. There's a rubber cap on the top of it that you can take off to put a tool in there to manually raise and lower your tongue. And like I said, I just thought this thing was waterproof and I thought nothing of it. Well, now I have a problem and I have to fix everything. So in this video, I'm going to show you what the problem was. So I'll show you the components that got ruined and like how damaged they actually were, how you can fix it without changing your entire tongue jack, and then I'll show you something that you can use to prevent it from happening ever again. So let's just get right into it. Let me first explain how water gets into your cover. So this is off of a Jayco trailer and it's by FIC, F-I-C, and I'll put the item number down below real quick, but it's FIC-ETJ3500. And I think these are found pretty much standard on a lot of trailers out there. But how water gets in there is that there's two halves, plastic halves, and they sit like this, and then this cover that has a switch on it sits on top of those halves like this. And there's a big hole up here. Well, this rubber cap sits in that hole just like that, but it's actually pushed down, and water's getting through that cap. And right below it is the device where you can raise and lower it manually, but right next to it is the circuit board with all the components, and water gets dripped right on top of that. And then the water sits on top of here, it evaporates, and then eventually it sticks to the entire inside of these covers, and that is not good for this jack, and it will ruin it. Now I want to show you the damage real quick. So this is the circuit board. It's held down by one screw. This is where you get your ground at, and the water drips right on top of it. And this is how it sits. It sits on top of this block, and as you can see, it's totally corroded. The backside absolutely corroded, and then the tray that it sits on to keep it off of the metal is completely corroded from above. This is the switch that raises and lowers the jack, and as you can see, it's all corroded. Water doesn't directly drip on this area, but just from the moisture inside of the area, you can tell that it obviously has a lot of corrosion on it. And there's two clips on both edges of it. I just kind of released those clips. I'm going to pull this out real quick and show you the inside. All corroded on the inside there, and my contacts too are all corroded. So this switch is completely and utterly garbage. The light had some damage on it too. There's 4 LEDs on the front side of this card right here, and half of them are working. I wasn't able to get a replacement for the LED light, so I'm hoping, I had it drying for about a week. I'm hoping that much dry time hopefully fix it. If not, I can always replace it later on in the future, but the 2 LEDs that do work, that I know work, they are definitely bright enough to light up the area in front of the jack. So now that we know how water got in there and what damage was actually done, now let's go ahead and repair it. So the first thing you want to do is take the whole thing apart. And the cover is super easy. The first thing you want to do, there's just 4 small screws on the front of your light. Just take those off and set them off to the side. And then for your covers, there's 7 screws on this side that screw into this side, and then there's 4 machine screws. 2 machine screws go in here, and 2 machine screws go in here. So just take off whatever screws you see on the outside of your plastic covers and pull them off. At that time, you can separate these, and this switch cover just kind of pops off. But it sits there because it's all hooked up with the electrical wires. That's the next part. Now the wires can be somewhat tricky, but first thing you want to do is make sure you have your battery disconnected, and this is the positive lead right here. So get that safed off. Now we can safely go ahead and remove everything from our circuit boards. So this is the old circuit board right here. The switch that turns on the light and the light are just on these white connectors. Just push that down and just pull them up. Okay, really easy on that one. Now for these next ones, it could be kind of a bear. If you notice, these are captured terminals. So there's a hole inside of this one, and then if you look at this one right here, there's kind of a raised area that it sits into. And I'll show you real quick. So once we put this in there, you got to take it off. You can't pull it off. If you pull too hard, you'll just pull the wire out of the terminal, and this will just stay in there. So you don't want to do that. So grab like a screwdriver, a Phillips, or a flathead, and there's a little piece that you can push on right here. Push it in, and that releases that captive, and it pulls right out. And I'll show you kind of on this wire right here with this hooked up. So we'll stick it back on there like this. It won't pull off, right? There's that piece right there that you can push in like that, and that releases it to pull up. So you'll have a few of these to do on your circuit board and on your switch. And also make sure you take a picture of everything before you take it apart so you know how to put it back together again. And I'll provide pictures at the end of this just to show you how it is supposed to be wired up if you have the same model as mine. Next, we're going to want to remove this old switch so we can put the new switch in. So I'm going to turn around here. All the wires are off of it because that's what we just did with the switch and the circuit board. You can leave these wires hooked up to the push button for the LED light because we're going to reuse those. But as you can see, there's a bunch of silicone around the edge here of the switch. So take like a flathead screwdriver or your nail and just start picking that away until you can remove the entire switch assembly and pull it out the front. I just took the switch out. This is how it should look with the switch not being present. And then just take your screwdriver still or a knife and just get all the excess silicone out from the front of it and from the back of it. Don't worry if you scratch this up. It's not a big deal. You're never going to see it. Now that everything is removed, now we can actually go ahead and install the new components onto our tongue jack. So this is the old circuit board right here. It comes in two pieces, a tray and then the circuit board that's all corroded. Just go ahead and throw that away. The replacement part looks like this, and as you can see, it looks a lot different. There's actually like a waterproof layer on top of everything. Now, it's probably not waterproof. If water does get in there, it's going to leach through to the electronics. It just might take more time. So make sure you still cover your tongue jack after everything's said and done to prevent water from getting in there. As for the switch, here's the switch. It looks the exact same. This is a direct replacement. Now, where did I get these from? On the warning label right down here, there's a phone number. It's 1-877-957-1501. I called them last week on a Tuesday. Each component was $15. With shipping was $9, so it cost about 40 bucks. And I got it in about a week's time. And the guy there was super nice. So yeah, if this is the issue with your tongue, go ahead and replace these. It's going to save you a lot of money. These run for anywhere between $150, $200, $250. You know, it can really go up there in price. So I'm getting a good deal. I can fix this myself and make it all work brand new again with new components. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we're going to mount the switch. So just take any type of silicone you want. I have more of a fast drying silicone, and just put a little bead around the entire top surface here of where the switch goes into. Once you get that bead put on there, take your switch, make sure it's in the right orientation. This says up, this says down, and this is the orientation of up and down for the actual cover. And just slide this in there like that, and it should click right in there like that. Boom, we're done. Now turn it around and take your silicone again and just give a nice good squirt all the way around the entire bottom surface of your switch. So now we can talk about mounting the circuit board onto the top of the jack. Now the old one, just for reference, you might have seen some messages scroll through as we were watching the video that this is where our ground was, and that is correct. The ground screw went on top of that metal right there and then attached to the chassis of the trailer. But on the new circuit board, there is no metal there, so we can't use that as a ground. But if you noticed on this one here, our positive lead goes on this one and our negative lead goes on this one, and that's the same in this case as well. The positive goes here and negative goes here. So we're going to have to run our own wire to chassis ground. So we're going to take our new circuit board, put it on top where it went, where the old one went before, take our screw and just drive that down and tighten it. Remember, this is not going to be the ground anymore. Now we have to make our own wire. So this positive that comes from the battery, this is number 12. So I had some spare number 12 black in my shop. And we're going to make a little jumper that goes from this terminal right here to any of these screws on top of here. That will be a good ground. Or if you wanted to, you can run this wire all the way back to the battery and hook it up to our negative lead. But we don't need to do that in that case. We can just make a small jumper from here to here. So what I did is I already made up a jumper. It has a female disconnect end on this side. You can buy these at any local hardware store. Then I have a ring lug on this side that will attach on top of this screw. Now just to go over real quick, just basics, strip your wire like that. You want to have enough shown for the copper to come through like this. And then take your crimper and just crimp it like that. Boom, you're done. This is a very easy step. Nothing to worry about here. So now what we'll do is we'll take our new jumper and we'll attach ground on it right here. Slide it on like that. And then for these bolts or machine screws right here, these are M4 by 0.7 by 15 that comes on the trailer. I had to go to the store and I bought an M4 by 0.7 by 18 millimeter, and that's the length. So because when I'm putting this ring lug on here, the screw sticks up further as it tightens down. So I want to make sure I just get a good bite on those threads. So I'll just take my screw, I'll put it through my lug. Then I have a washer just so I get better contact because there is a hole here where the screw goes into. And then I'll just take my screwdriver, tighten that down. I'm going to have my lug pointed this way. And there's plenty of room for the wire to actually sit inside of the case. So now we have our negative lead on there, nice and tight, and then we'll put our positive lead from the battery onto the connector. Now that our positive and our negative leads are hooked up from our battery to our circuit board, now we can go ahead and hook up our switch. So I'm going to hook these up the exact same way I took it apart a few nights ago. So remember, take a picture so you can put it back the exact same way. So according to the picture, my black lead went down on the bottom of the switch, the one that's on an angle, the terminal, and then the red lead went on the other side of one of those angled terminals. And then my black lead goes on the right side here, on that, and it attached to the, just above the black lead right there. Then my white went on the left side here, and this attached to the other side right there. Now let's go ahead and let's quickly test to make sure that it in fact goes up and down like it's supposed to. Now it's imperative we always test our circuit before we put everything back together again because we don't want to have to pull this thing apart. So remember, this is hooked up the exact same way that I took it off. So if I go up, the trailer should go up. But watch what happens. It's going down. When I go to hit down, it goes up. So just because you took a picture doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be hooked up the exact same way or it's going to work the exact same way. But this is a very easy fix. There's no problem with this at all. Just take your two leads on top here, the white and the black lead, and just pull them off and put the white lead where the black lead is and the black lead where the white lead is. Let's do that real quick, then we'll try it one more time. Okay, I just reversed these two leads. Now let's try it again and make sure it works correctly. Now when I go up, it goes up. When I go down, the trailer goes down. So now I know everything's hooked up correctly. Now let's hook up our LED light and our LED switch. Now to hook up the LED light switch, that's going to go on the inside left white connector right there. And then for our light, bring your light to the front of your tongue. And then we're going to attach that to the right side of that LED switch. And then like I said before, make sure you take your switch here and just make sure everything works fine. Now all of our electrical connections are completed. Now we can put it all back together again. Okay, so we're going to first take our right side of our plastic cover and we're going to attach that to the side of the top of the jack. And we're going to do so by using those two machine screws that go in here that then fit right here and then right below here. Now one important thing about this, you want to make sure your LED light wires kind of fish through this way and then they come out through this hole in the front of our half. So let's go ahead and put this on here. And just get one screw kind of started. And then we'll get the other screw started. And then go ahead and tighten those down. Now we'll do the left sides. But before we do that, let's make sure that these two wires, the red and black, are below this plastic piece right here. And then the black and the white wire up here are below that piece like that. And so if it looks like that, just let that kind of sit there. Now we're going to raise this up and we're going to put our machine screws again on this side like that. Just get them started. And tighten them down. So our wire should be coming out for our LED light like this. So the next step, we'll just take our light and slap it in like that. And then take a smaller Phillips head screwdriver and run down these 4 screws until they're tight, and that gets the light set in there. Next, take your 7 screws and go ahead and put them all around here and tighten them down. Next step, we're going to attach the switch cover onto the 2 halves that we installed just a little bit ago. Now when you took it off, you probably saw there was this little silicone gasket. This was going to break when you take it off most likely, but that's alright. We can just put new silicone inside of here as well. There's a small trough that runs around the entire length of this opening here. Just take your silicone and just take a small bead and go all the way around. Alright, once your silicone's in that little trough there, just take your switch cover. There should be 4 tabs, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom with holes, and then it's going to kind of go in a little bit, indentation on the bottom here and indentation on the top here. You can kind of squeeze this a little bit to make that fit. We're going to take this gently, put it in the bottom, and then we'll roll it to the top. And you should hear it snap into place. There we go. It just took a little bit of maneuvering, but I finally got it to snap in there. And that's it. Let's do one quick test run. Up and down. And the light. Everything works just perfect. Lastly, take your rubber cap and just stick that back in the hole. And now she's back to normal again. So lastly, let's prevent this from ever happening again. So I got a trailer jack cover that's waterproof off of Amazon, 24 bucks. The company's Trailer Sphere, I'll put this down below, and it's just called their Easy Cover. It got some really good reviews, and it comes with 2 holes on the bottom here that you can lock it up if you wanted to. I'm not too worried about it, but it does have a cord on the bottom that you can cinch it tight so you can use it for travel. But super easy. Now that everything's fixed up here, slide this over and we'll cinch it down nice and tight. Now we have a waterproof cover and we'll no longer get any damage into our circuits. I want to thank you for sticking around and watching the video. I know it was one of my more lengthy videos, but I wanted to make sure I went into great detail on how to fix your electric jack without actually replacing the entire jack. It wasn't that difficult. I took a lot more time on it than I really needed to just because I was doing the video, but I took care of all the hard work for you. Just follow everything that I said and it should work the way that the video turned out if you have this style of jack. Again, thanks for watching the video. Please like the video if it did help you out. Please subscribe to the channel. It does help me in a lot of ways. But until next time, take it easy and have a great day.